Previously. Sarah and Plebius, my best friends, kicked me out after my wife also kicked me out for gambling debts. We started work on our chunk tasks and completed 5 out of 8. This time, I commit at least 3 crimes. So let's get into it. Hey you, come here. I'm Chunkimedes. And this is Xtreme One Chunk Ironman. Varlamore edition. I think the worst part in this is I barely made it out of Sarah and Plebius' house. I'm still in the back garden, and my wife is here the entire time watching me conduct a complete mass extinction of the local rabbit population. It's not exactly screaming, "Take me back," is it? Here we go. Jesus Christ, I killed so many bunnies. So at this point we've made a little bit of progress. I mean, current kill count on the rabbits is 4,950. We're up to 40 attack, 40 strength. Not far off 40 defense as well. Prayers come up to 35, and we're still only 53 cooking, so I've still got 5 levels to go before I can complete that cooking chunk task. So still a couple thousand more rabbits, so that'll be another day or 2 probably stood in the same spot in this garden. I was having a think about it if there was any other cooking method that I could do in this chunk, and the only thing that I have come up with is the other side of this wall there is a set of nettles, and you can pick those nettles and turn them into nettle tea, and then you can boil that to complete the cooking. So that is another method which is probably less painful than doing this, or would at least give me a break from doing this. The only problem I have with that is it would require a pair of gloves. Now, the only way for me to get a pair of gloves in this chunk is through random events. So I've got either the zombie gloves or the beekeeper gloves, which I believe work as if they were a normal pair, so that you can use them to pick nettles. I haven't been lucky with either so far. I've got a few pieces of the outfit during that montage, but I'm just going to hold my breath. Maybe I can grab a pair before I actually hit the chunk task and hit the 58 cooking, but we'll see. Interesting. There are players which seem to be hopping worlds in this exact spot for the yew tree. When they do, it sometimes triggers a random woodcutting event, and it seems like this is a method for me to gain woodcutting experience, and also a way for me to get fishing experience. I have tried sneaking out these small fishing nets as a way to fish in the little pond, but it's not possible to sneak them out. If there was, that would be a better thieving method for me, because I'd be able to get keys to unlock chests in the chunk that I'm in. So a bit frustrating that I can't sneak them out. $35 prayer, 40 hit points, 40 defense, 54 cooking, 55 cooking. This is one of the random events I can't do, Pillory Guard, because he'd transport me to Varrock, so I need to dismiss those. 56 cooking, 45 strength. Tried to sneak out these nets again from Bob, it hasn't worked. I've tried different places in my inventory, I don't know how I can sneak this out, but 10 cooking. 57 cooking. This is it, we're on to our final inventory of raw rabbits. This should take us to 58 cooking, which will unlock pita bread for our final chunk task. In the end, it has taken us 7,595 rabbits. There was a number that were burnt at the very beginning, but very quickly I stopped burning everything, so that's good. I'm so glad that I had the mithril scimitar for this grind. I think in the end it took me about a week on and off. I wasn't playing all day every day, but having to do that with like an iron dagger or unarmed would have just made that so much more worse. Thankfully I can untag this rabbit. I can leave him to frolic in the city alone, untouched by me. The value of all these rabbits has become crazy, so my bank is looking a bit stronger, and there it is, 58 cooking. Members can now cook pita bread. So the only way for me to cook this pita bread is using a pot of flour and a bucket of water to make the dough and then cooking it. So I have during the grind picked up a pot of flour from one of the imps. I'll just show the bank here on how far we've got. So 7,318 cooked rabbits in the end, which account for a value of 5.6 million. So that's where almost all of my bank values come from at the minute. It only heals me for 5, but the reason I did this grind first was I know that I'm now going to have to go and kill some guards for runes to do the magic grind, and I'm also going to have to do some thieving, so it's not the best food in the world, but it's certainly going to help me with both of those things. I've obviously picked up a few random event bits and pieces. In the end, not a single pair of gloves came my way from the mime or the zombie events, so it was rabbits all the way to the end, unfortunately. But let's go and try our hand at not burning this pita bread. I must pick the correct one, pita dough, and we'll head over to the oven. If I burn this, I'm going to have to sit around waiting for an imp spawn and hope to get another pot of flour drop, so hopefully no burn here. There it is, baked pita bread. Chunk task complete, we can cross that one off the list, which just leaves us 2 more. Cast High Alchemy, which is on here. This is 55 magic, so I'm going to have to kill guards for the runes and work my way up from level 1. I've got a little bit of magic XP from a couple of lamps, which in hindsight I probably should have just kept until I'd got at least a few magic levels. All in all, the levels are looking pretty good. I've finished with a total combat level of 54. Obviously I had the base 40 stats, but we've managed to add on to that another 8 strength levels. 39 prayer, just burying normal bones, which is crazy. I mean, I've unlocked Protect from Magic here. I don't think I've ever had an account that has come this far into unlocking prayers just burying normal bones, which is a bit crazy. can't do anything with this pita bread actually, I might just drop it. We can make another one in the future if we need it for some reason, but that is chunk task completed anyway, so on to the next ones. Okay, so I think I've decided I'm going to do the thieving grind first. I'm going to come back to my friend's house, so this is Plebius, he's my target for today. I'm just having a look at the calculator. The citizens in Varlamore are the equivalent of a normal man or woman if you were pickpocketing, so at my current XP with a target of 40, we're looking at about 4,000 pickpockets in total, so hopefully this doesn't take as long. I mean, the real pain in the last grind was every time I killed a rabbit, it was a 15-minute respawn timer, so this thieving grind will feel like an absolute breeze in comparison. I brought a full inventory of cooked rabbit, and yeah, hopefully it doesn't take too long. 30 thieving. 35 thieving. And 40 thieving. All done. So I can now pickpocket from guards, so here I am doing so. So that is a chunk task completed. Okay, so it looks like I've missed an opportunity there, but in the maze random, I was just looking at the wiki, and the rewards from the strange shrine are interesting. However, there's probably nothing major that I'm looking for from that drop table. I picked up 4 nature runes, so don't get me wrong, picking up nature runes would be perfect for trying to level as well as actually completing the chunk task. But if we scroll down to the other chests that are available in the maze that you can pick up along the way as you're running around, I can get all of the sort of basic elemental runes from that. So I'm thinking that any future ones, I basically just run around the entire maze and pick up every single chest, trying to pick up these elemental runes, even if it means that I don't make it to the middle, because at the moment these base elemental runes are far more valuable to me than, you know, a chaos or a death rune is going to be. So I'm going to keep an eye out for those maze randoms and start doing that. So I might just start with the thief anyway, get my combat stats up just a little bit more, just to make sure that I'm not wasting huge amounts of food. But I'm starting to get a little bit worried about this grind given how many kills I've made so far, and I've got 1 rune to my name and I've got to get all the way to 55 magic, so buckle in for this one I think. Okay, so I said that I would come and do thieves because there was a much better drop rate on the air runes. I've got the loot tab open on the right here. After 200 kills, and as you can see, not a single air rune drop so far. Just to get past the initial, obviously lowest levels, I'm still level 1 magic, albeit a couple of lamps have gone on that so far. I am only up to 45 mind runes and 6 air runes, which came from guards, so I'm probably just going to do about another 50 kills here just to see if there is an air rune drop and I've just got unlucky. If not, I'm going to head back over to the guards. See how I do on that. I'm willing to sacrifice some of the food if it just means I can get the runes faster. Okay, so something has been brought to my attention, which is that in the chunk picker rules you can set your secondary drop rate chance. I currently had it not set to anything, which meant that it was giving me this cast high level alchemy task. I've already gone through the difficulty of the drop rate on this one. I'm up to 435 kills on the thief. I've pulled out all of my runes, so this is absolutely everything that I own, and as you can see I'm literally 72 mind runes and 30 air runes. I think this is my own naivety with the rule set for the Xtreme One Chunk challenge, but I've sort of been informed that the average that someone would set for the drop rate would be 1 in 16 for secondary items, which means that in this case, because the drop rate is a 1 in 64 for the air runes and the mind runes, that actually if I set that rule to a more appropriate one, what that gives me is just a task to cast Wind Strike at level 1, which I can complete. So I'm just thinking, in the spirit of not sitting in the same chunk killing what would probably be hundreds of thousands of guards and thieves, so that we can move on with the series, that I will also match my secondary drop rate to the 1 in 16. That means all I need to do to complete the chunk is to cast Wind Strike, so I'll put on my best mage equipment, and I think we'll get that one done. So apologies for that confusion, but the good news is it means that we can roll a new chunk once I do that. Okay, so I've got my best in slot mage equipment, which is my iron dagger and my blue wizard hat. That's giving me my +3 magic, so all we need to do then is cast Wind Strike. I think I'm going to do it on this rabbit. Let's have a go. Boom, there we go. Chunk task completed. And with that done, let's just take a quick assessment of where we got to after completing all the tasks in this chunk. The bank, we're up to a value of 7.5 million. Again, that's primarily driven by 7.3 million of cooked rabbit that I've got in the inventory. We picked up some basic tools, as I'd already gone through, very limited on the runes we have available to us. In terms of food, I guess we're totally covered for 5 healing food. I did also pick up some ore from the maze random event. The only issue with this is I can't level up beyond level 1 until I get my hands on some tin ore, so if we pick a chunk to the south we might end up with that. Just a handful of gems for now. Hopefully if I get a crossbow and a bow in one of the next chunks, that means that I can finally start training my ranged. So I'm really desperate for a bow and a staff at the moment, just to unlock the other 2 attacking methods. And I've started my herb collection, which is starting to look nice. I mean, 7 renars, that's quite handy. Again, I'm still a while away from druidic ritual, but the sooner we start building this up, the better. Also got our potato seeds and our onion seeds. Everything else is pretty much just junk. Tooth half of key, I suppose that's probably the best drop I've received other than my mithril scimitar. All in all, I think the chunk took me about a week, just over a week. Most of the time was spent killing these rabbits and waiting for the respawn time, but all in, we finished with 41 attack, 50 strength, 40 defense, almost at 40 prayer, and 40 thieving is the other big one. 58 cooking, that's a nice head start, so that when we do eventually unlock a fishing spot, that we can use a much better training method for leveling cooking, but we've already got a head start on what we can cook. Obviously picked up the 10 cooking from the Bob the Cat random events, and a total of 358 level. That's pretty good. Combat level's 55, so I'm feeling pretty positive about that, and to be honest, I'm quite relieved that I'm not doing the grind on the guards to get the 55 magic. I think because I'd made the mistake, I will focus on trying to level up the magic as much as I can, even if there isn't a chunk task in my next 1 or 2. But let's head over to the chunk picker and see where we end up next. Right, here we are in the chunk picker for the first time, rolling on where we go next. You can see that I've marked chunk number 1. This is the one with the massive grind towards crafting. I think I have to get 87 crafting in this one to make a light orb. That one's very concerning, just not for the crafting itself, but more for actually getting the the raw money to buy the seaweed and the soda ash and the buckets of sand to be able to get there. And I mean, even if I did have infinite money, it's still going to be just months of grinding, running between the bank, buying things, world hopping. So that one's particularly scary. I think if I can get a better money making method in one of the other chunks, then I'll be served much better when I do eventually come to that one. I think what I'll also do is, if I don't get chunk number 1, is I'll continue working on my crafting as we go through some of the other chunks, just so it's less painful when I do get there. Chunk 2 and chunk 3, they're not looking scary at all. The chunk tasks in this one, there are a lot of them, but it's more fletching and woodcutting, which is a nice little AFK method. Everything I've done in my current chunk has been required quite a high level of focus, and when you're doing it for a week, you know, you're paying attention so the rabbit doesn't run away, you're paying attention to the respawn timers, you're having to do a lot of clicking for the thieving, so I'll be quite happy to unlock a click and forget skill like woodcutting. So I'm quite looking forward to getting some access over there. Equally, heading down to the south, there's not too much to do. Editing Chunkimedes here. When I filmed this was before I had the realization about the chunk rules, which I went through earlier. So the actual chunk tasks for tile number 3 would be to wield a rune weapon, burn some yew logs, cast wind strike, smith a bronze dagger, chop yew logs, and obtain a rune mace. Back to real Chunkimedes to finish off the chat. Okay, the time has come. We're going to pick the chunk. I'm very nervous about this. Let's go. Oh, please. Let me go west. South. So, new chunk tasks are to wield a rune weapon, burn some yew logs, chop some yew logs, so our first fire making and wood cutting tasks. Cast a wind strike, which we've already completed, and smith a bronze dagger. Obviously we also need to obtain the rune mace from the Spike's mace shop. I think that's about 18,000 coins, so we can do that one. But it's looking like a pretty reasonable task actually. And here we are at the precipice of our new chunk. I'm leaving my wife, my child, and my best friends behind after stealing a significant amount of money and murdering their pet rabbit 7,000 times, but here we are at the precipice of our new chunk. Let's go ahead and unlock this. And there we go, look at that. We have suddenly doubled our horizon, so I can take a look around in some of these buildings now. I'll have a quick wander around and I'll let you know what I find. So the first thing we have here is a master farmer, which we can pickpocket, although failed there, which obviously gives us access to a new thieving method, but also gives us access to a lot of seeds. So I think this will be a sort of side task that I'm going to give myself. Just start loading up on seeds so that when we do head west and unlock our farming patches, that I'm ready to go with some of these seeds. Let's just have a look. How much XP do I get for pickpocketing? 43. So compared to the 8 I was getting from pickpocketing Plebeius, this is a significant improvement. So let's keep having a look around. We've got chickens here, which means we have access to eggs, we have access to feathers, so this certainly helps with any potential fletching. Because there's a requirement to cut trees here, I assume that I can access an axe, which means I also sort of unlock fletching, so these feathers will come in useful for that. We've got a group of naughty dogs here, Molasses, Lola and Zolo, who've stolen a cabbage from the local farmer. He's got a big leaf of cabbage in his mouth. My dog certainly likes lettuce. I don't think she's a fan of cabbage though. I wonder if there's anything you can do with those guys. I'll have a look on the wiki with that one. We've got the sand crabs, which admittedly is a nice training method, at least for my melee stats. There's some free seaweed accessible here on the shore. Looks like just the 3 spawns here. Slightly annoying. There's not doesn't seem to be a single spot along the shore which gives a fishing spot, so that's slightly frustrating. Over here we've got our first anvil as well, which is obviously great, but there's not much I can do without access to the appropriate ore. So let's take this iron mace as well. That's got +1 prayer bonus, that's nice. And then we've got Spike here, who's got one of our chunk tasks, which is to wield a rune weapon, which includes the rune mace. That's going to cost us 18.7k, so we're not actually that far off. We did a lot of pickpocketing men to get to 40 thieving, so as I said earlier, I've got much better GP per hour with my current thieving level and the NPCs we have in these 2 chunks now, so that should basically be a non-issue. And that rune mace is probably an upgrade to my myth scimitar. I'll have to do a comparison on that one. And then nothing else upstairs, so let's go check out the rest of the chunk. We've got some sunlight antelopes here with some pits. Just checking though, we need 72 hunter to do anything with these guys. I don't currently have access to a hunting method, so there's no task required from any of this. And it doesn't look like there's much else for me around here. I've just realised though, after been walking around, there isn't an axe spawn itself. It seems like, oh, there's some more seaweed here, which is nice. So this is a much better spawn than one up there if I was doing world hopping, just to pick up seaweed. Albeit my agility level is atrocious, and I've got no weight reducing clothes to get from here up to the bank. But what I've realised on the axe is it is something I'm going to have to craft myself now that I've got access to the anvil. Presumably that's because the sand crabs will drop a smithing method for me, so let's just take a look at them on the wiki. So sand crabs, here we go. Let's take a look at the drop rate. So they will give me access to an iron pickaxe, which is great. I mean, I don't have anything to actually mine at the minute, but that'll be great for when we get to unlock some mining spots. Seaweed, obviously, and here we go. This is why, because they drop tin, iron, coal and copper, I can now, with the copper I already have, pick up some tin ore and start making bronze materials. I can upgrade them to iron using the iron and the coal, so I can basically craft a full set of iron gear. That doesn't seem to have been assigned to me as a task, like we said earlier, because it's a 1 in 64 drop rate. My secondary is set to 1 in 16, so these are not formal chunk tasks, but because I don't have any armor or anything like that, I probably will just level up my smithing a little bit and see how far I get towards crafting maybe a full set of iron. But I definitely want the tools at the very least, so I'll definitely be making an axe and hopefully get the pickaxe from here as well. Everything else, I mean, bucket of sand is dropped at 1 in 21, and this is the first time I've got access to the gem drop table even. which means that I also have a chance to get the Rune Javelin, Rune Spear, Shield Left Half and Dragon Spear. So, I mean, the drop chances on these is slightly ridiculous, but the point is we have access for the first time to this table, so that would be great if we could get spooned on any of that. Okay, so small sigh of relief here. I didn't have all of my settings correct in the chunk picker, so I fixed that now. As I was talking about earlier, the 1 in 16 requirement on the item sources has now been amended. So if we again take a look at the sand crab drop table, because the bucket of sand is above the 1 in 16 limit that we've set for the rules on the account, that means that the crafting grind is actually falling into the backlog for this particular chunk, which is good news. If I just take a look then at the tasks that we are now left with, that's wield a rune weapon, burn the yew logs, smith a bronze dagger, chop yew logs, and obtain the rune mace. So those two are linked together. So good news overall, and we can get started on probably crafting the bronze dagger. That will be the first thing. So I'll pull out some tin ore. I may need to kill some more because I'm going to need to make a bronze axe as well to be able to do the wood cutting grind. So I'll take what I've got and I'll see what I can make here. So let's make some bronze bars to start off with. This will be the first smithing XP on the account. Here we go. And there's 3 bronze bars, so we'll head over to the anvil that we've just unlocked. And here we go. We just need 1 bar for the dagger, so we'll make that. And that's our first chunk task completed here. And we'll also throw in a bronze axe. And we have now unlocked the ability to chop some trees. So I'll probably do the ones closest to the bank, so unfortunately some more time spent in this chunk. I'll probably load up on getting the woodcutting level first before I then go to do the woodcutting, because then I can just pull them out of the bank and use this strip of road here if I can burn logs on it. But for now we've run out of time, so that will have to wait till next episode. So if you've made it this far, as always, thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure suffering alongside all of you. It's nice to see so many people have already watched the first episode, so please do share, like, subscribe if you're interested in following along with the journey, and I will see you in the next episode.